Hello everyone. I'm a little bit annoyed. So I just finished filming my video. I stopped pressing record and it didn't record. I don't know why. So I just wasted 40 minutes of my life. Anyway, hello. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. I'm still trying to gather my bearings on how to start videos and how to end videos. I don't have a script. Probably will never write a script. I find that making videos is a little bit easier when I just lay my thoughts out, just think of a topic and ramble about it. So today's ramble topic is Anne of Green Gables. So, forgive me. I have not finished the whole series yet, although I do have the box set and I will get through it, all of it, one day, although I am quite a slow reader. I have watched the Netflix show Anne with an E, and I have seen clips of the older 1984. Was it 1984? I'm pretty sure it was 1984, and a Green Gables movie. I haven't seen it yet because I don't know where to find it. I think my friend has a copy of it that I can just borrow from her, so maybe I'll just do that. And I kind of just wanted to talk about anything Anne and Green Gables today, because it's just such a lovely series that I resonate with a lot. So I kind of wanted to talk about the show a bit first, since it's super popular. One thing that people kind of don't really like, but I think it's quite beautiful, is the part where they do that ball for that Aunt Josephine runs for her deceased partner. And I just think, even though it wasn't in the book, it was just such a lovely display of inclusivity and how I think the kids would react to that. And I just think it's such a beautiful scene. I know a lot of people, including my mother, doesn't really like the fact that they made Aunt Josephine lesbian, but I love it. I just think, even though it's not part of her original character, she is just displayed so beautifully within it. And the set design and the costume design and everything about it was just so gorgeous, not only, metaphorically, but also just aesthetically. I loved how it kind of incorporated when Anne had to cut all of her hair short when she dyed it green. I loved how they kind of included that in the ball. It was just like a lovely display of being different and kind of stepping out of that norm that was solid at the time of being prim and proper and especially plain, following the societal rules very closely and being quite afraid to step out of that. And I love how, even though, as I keep saying, it wasn't part of the book, I love how they incorporated that into the show. Another thing I would like to talk about is the quotes in Anne of Green Gables. So I know this is just how people talk in the 19th century, but it doesn't mean I still can't appreciate the way that they spoke. I just kind of want to point out something that I feel like not a lot of people seem to know. In a lot of the iterations and the movies and the shows, the most iconic scene in the book is when Gilbert teases Anne and then Anne hits Gilbert over the head with a slate. And while they are 90% there, this is quite a small nitpick, but I just would like to point out, just because it's such an iconic scene, I just want to read out what they were doing, because in the shows and movies, it's always depicted as the classroom is in the middle of working, heads down with their books open and writing on their slates, but that isn't really what they were doing. And I just want to read what they were doing at the time. I'll put the page here. Every page that I'm reading off of, I'll put here. Mr. Phillips was in the back corner explaining a problem in algebra to Prissy Andrews. The Anne with an E got that right. Mr. Phillip is disgusting. And Side note, I love how Lucy Ellen Montgomery kind of doesn't outright say that Mr. Phillips is trying to court Prissy, but it's explained in such an innocent way, which I suppose would make sense because it is a book for children, but it's so subtly just like, hey, Mr. Phillips is a disgusting man and you should not like him, even though I'm not really saying outright that he's disgusting, because I think it's very smart how Lucy kind of explains it as if it were from a child's perspective. Like, oh, Mr. Phillips isn't being inappropriate with Prissy. He's just explaining work to her like every other time. Like, and for some reason, he really likes Prissy. We don't know why. And I just think that's such a smart way to include that in. It's disgusting. It really is disgusting. But I just think it's smart. I'll restart. Mr. Phillips was back in the corner explaining her problem in algebra to Prissy Andrews, and the rest of the scholars were doing pretty much as they pleased, eating green apples, whispering, drawing pictures on their slates, and driving crickets, harnessed to strings, up and down the aisle. I literally think that is what it just says it is. I was trying to think, they don't actually mean crickets, right? They do. Gilbert Blythe was trying to make Anne Shirley look at him and failing utterly, because Anne was at that moment totally oblivious, not only of the very existence of Gilbert Blythe, but of every other scholar in Avonlea School and of Avonlea School itself. With her chin propped on her hands and her eyes fixed on the blue glimpse of the lake of shining waters that the west window afforded, she was far away in a gorgeous dreamland, hearing and seeing nothing save her own wonderful visions. And I just think it's a nice little detail that I feel like every show doesn't really include, because I kind of wish that, I mean, and especially in Anne with an E, she's just minding her own business. It's not like she's daydreaming, she's just working. I feel like it just would have worked a whole lot better, if you know what I mean. And even though it's such a small nitpick, I just think it would have looked a lot nicer. And yes, they are being literal about harnessing crickets to strings and driving them up and down the aisle of the classroom. And honestly, I think that Gilbert Blythe he's pretty. I don't like him. At least so far, I don't like him. Because his way of trying to impress girls is not very good. I mean, I know that was kind of how it went in the 19th century, but he's just kind of awful. I mean, when Anne hits Gilbert on the head with her slate, and Anne then exclaims to Diana that she thinks that Gilbert Blythe is very rude, in which he is. Diana goes, "You mustn't mind Gilbert making fun of your hair," she said soothingly. "Why, he makes fun of all the girls. He laughs at mine because it's so black. He called me a crow 12 times, and I never heard him apologise for anything before either." And I have to agree with Anne. Anne then goes, "That's a great deal of difference between being called a crow and being called carrots." I have to agree with Anne. I don't want to be called carrots and then my best friend gets to be called something who's already known to be such a beautiful girl in the class, to then tell me that she gets to be called a graceful, elegant crow and I get to be called a literal vegetable. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, Diana, it's not the same thing. And, you know, kind of going off of the quotes in the book, I just want to talk about how gorgeous Lucy starts these chapters off. In chapter 16, Diana is invited to tea with tragic results. Again, I'll put it on the screen. It starts off, and I'll read it. It says, October was a beautiful month at Green Gables, when the birches in the hollow turned as gold in the sunshine, and the maples behind the orchard were royal crimson, and the wild cherry trees along the lane put on the loveliest shades of dark red and bronzy green, while the fields sunned themselves in the aftermaths. Anne revelled in the world of colour about her. "Oh, Marilla," she exclaimed one Saturday morning, coming in to dance with arms full of gorgeous bows. "I'm so glad to live in a world where there are Octobers. It would be so terrible if we just skipped from September to November, wouldn't it? Look at these maple branches. Don't they give you a thrill? Several thrills. I'm going to decorate my room with them." And as much as the book likes to state Marilla is very blunt and very plain and very practical with everything she says, the book likes to admit that no, she likes to appear that way. In reality, she loves everything that Anne does. because Marilla then says, to contrast Anne's bubbly, flowery thoughts, she says, "Messy things," said Marilla, whose aesthetic sense was not noticeably developed. "You clutter up your room entirely too much with out-of-door stuff, Anne. Bedrooms were made to sleep in." And then Anne goes, "Oh, and dream in too, Marilla. And you know, one can dream so much better in a room where there are pretty things." And I think it's gorgeous. And I like at the end of chapter 16 when Anne goes over to see the Barrys, Mrs. Barry, in person, just on her own after Marilla's already gone, to see if she can rectify the awful mistake of getting Diana drunk, unbeknownst to her. And talking about Mrs. Barry to Marilla when she gets home, she goes, "My last hope is gone," she told Marilla. "I went up and saw Mrs. Barry myself. She treated me very insultingly. Marilla, I do not think she is a well-bred woman. There is nothing more to do except to pray, and I haven't much hope that it'll do much good, because, Marilla, I do not believe that God himself can do very much with such an obstinate person as Mrs. Barry." And I think I laughed at this for like at least 5 minutes. And Marilla goes, "Ed, you shouldn't say such things," rebuked Marilla, striving to overcome that unholy tendency to laughter which she was dismayed to find growing upon her. And indeed, when she told the whole story to Matthew that night, she did laugh heartily over Anne's tribulations. I like how it shows, Marilla is not as plain and as boring and as practical and as stern as she appears to be. She still has that kind of softer side to herself, and I think it's gorgeous. Another thing that I would like to point out is in the original printings of Anne of Green Gables, there were drawings of Anne and Diana and Marilla and Matthew in the classroom, like officially. And I had no idea. And I just think that is so beautiful. I'll put them here. In this one, it's Diana doing Anne's hair. Because in the quote below, it says, what does it say? "You have such wonderful fashion sense, Anne." I can't pull it up at the moment. I forgot what it said. And I just think it's so gorgeous. And this is obviously when they're older. But I think it's so beautiful. And here we have, Marilla and Matthew when Matthew brings Anne home, and Marilla goes, "Who is this you've brought home?" And by the way, they have done terrifically with casting the characters in Anne with an E. It's like almost perfect, dude. It's almost perfect. And this one of the classroom when Anne is called up to the blackboard for showing bad temper, even though I think it was justified. And you see the whole class and all the students and what they're wearing and what their classroom looks like and how small it is. I visit historical villages a lot, and obviously I work at a heritage site, and these classrooms are very, very tiny, and that's because, and a little bit of a history lesson, that's because it was just full of the children that were local, so they didn't need to be gigantic, so it was just a small building, and you would teach the local kids, and that would be maybe like 25 to 30 kids. So yeah, and Industrial Revolution, modes of transport now, and how easy it is to get from one place to another now because of cars and roads, whereas obviously with a horse and cart, you have to rely on the horse's stamina. You can't just fill it up with petrol. Obviously. It's just fascinating to see everything, how things were depicted. I think it's gorgeous. I'm yet to find any other photos or drawings from those first editions, because I don't have $3,000 to buy this first edition, which is where I found the Etsy link to this book. I'll link it in the description if anyone has the financial means and an obsession bigger than mine with Anne of Green Gables to buy a $3,150 book. But also, I just think it's beautiful. And yeah, hopefully this will record. Hopefully this will save. I kind of just wanted to have an excuse to talk about Anne of Green Gables today. This is going to be my setup from now on, and I will be using my phone microphone from now on. simply because it just sounds better. You can hear me better, and the audio was really bad on my last video, so sorry about that. So yeah, this will kind of be my setup, my kind of like background. So, you know, I've got my books of today's topic here, and I'll be, you know, sitting in this chair instead of on my bed, because even though the lighting is a tad better on my bed, where it isn't trying to desperately adjust to my face, it's just easier for me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I forgot to say yesterday, but this is my Goodreads. If I forget to mention my Goodreads, it'll always be in the description. That Etsy link will be in the description if anyone is curious and anyone wants to buy it. But you know, you can look through the pictures there and everything. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment if you will. Oh, and thank you very much for the 5 whole likes on my first video. To me, that feels like a lot of recognition, especially, you know, where we're at the moment. But thank you very much. Thank you for you know what? Thank you for like the unexpected large amount of views that I've already gotten, and I've started this channel 2 days ago. So thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. Again, if you haven't been here before, I've explained it in other videos, but if this is your first video you're seeing, my camera quality is not good at the moment because I'm using my MacBook camera, and we all know that they're awful. I'm trying to get my actual professional camera working. I don't know when that will be. I can't find a battery for it, the charger for it. So please bear with for however long this will look like this. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.